Eugene Mulero here with Transport Topics, and joining me is Jonathan Reiskin, Associate News Editor at Transport Topics. And we were recently at the Mid-American Trucking Show in Louisville, where I got to chat with Scott Darling, FMCSA's Acting Administrator. And Jonathan, it was interesting to see Darling really work the rooms at MATS and to chat with the people and engage with stakeholders. This is something, a departure from last year, where Darling really was more reserved and kept to himself and shied away from media exposure. And we're waiting for the U.S. Senate to take on a vote on his nomination to become administrator at FMCSA. So to me, my takeaway was that now Darling has fully embraced on this public role of leading the agency. And you were at MATS. What did you think?
Well, certainly, Eugene, if Mr. Darling can face the United States Senate for confirmation, he should be able to face the drivers and manufacturers and trucking companies at Mid-America in Louisville, which was a favorite of his predecessor, Ann Farrow, who went there quite a bit. It was a very different show, highly unusual, in that they threw a trucking show and no trucking companies came. There were a lot of trailer makers, there were a lot of other vendors to the industry, but the core of it, the heavy-duty truck makers plus Cummins engine, they were nowhere to be found. So it was a very different show. We're not entirely sure what's going to happen next year, but something. There will be trucks shown someplace, but we're not sure where or how that would work.
What did you think was perhaps the theme of MATS this year?
Certainly the trailer makers were big in showing their products. Also, electronic logging devices were talked about that a lot, because that mandate is coming at the end of next year, and people are trying to get used to that. There was also, at a semi-related event, America's Commercial Transportation Research up in Columbus, Indiana, a lot of talk about greenhouse gases, the regulation by the Environmental Protection Agency and NHTSA on phase 2 greenhouse gases. There was one presenter who worked for ATA and American Trucking Associations and is an environmental lawyer who added up a cost. It could be as much as $15,000 per tractor trailer by 2027.
Oh, wow.
In extra cost. And the ACT people, who are the counters of trucks and the orders and sales, said there could be a pre-buy similar to 2005 and 6, where people rush their purchases in 2019 and 2020 in order to avoid 2021. There was some speculation on that. So even if the truck makers weren't there, there was still a lot of discussion about them, both in Columbus and in Louisville.
That's right. And in this week's Capital Agenda, I also want to point people to a CRS report that came out last month, in which they looked at congressional spending on transportation projects under the earmark ban, and also the directing of funds to districts, which it was the controversial pork barrel projects, and made a lot of headlines with the whole bridge to nowhere. So CRS has an in-depth report on that, and it's worth reading. And then check out ttnews.com for coverage of GHG, our coverage of MATS, and the ELD rules. And Live on Web's, our most recent Live on Web, we took on the ELD mandate. And Capital Agenda comes out on Tuesday. Thank you.